Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Leadership Synergized, where we present to you individuals who've had a brilliant career with leadership in a number of industries. And certainly it's true of my good friend and guest today, Mr. Coach, Pastor Kendall Wildey. We could stretch that title out a long ways, Kendall, with your experiences, my friend.
Yeah, there could be a lot of names and adjectives and all kinds of things, but that probably just means that I wasn't good at hardly any of them, so I had to try a lot of them.
Or maybe you were great at all and they wouldn't let you get away from any of them. That's how I tend to see you, my friend.
It's good to be on. Thank you, Kevin. It's good talking.
Well, no, thank you for taking time out. And Kendall, what a background you bring, my friend, in 40 years career after post high school, post college, from coaching, being an educator, administrative leader, pastoring, and being on the leadership of a church, and now a private Christian school in Columbus, Indiana, located in the southeastern part of the state of Indiana. I don't want to take all your accolades, because I mentioned to you prior to starting the camera that perhaps the only other person that would know you better than you would know yourself would be your wife. And then we might throw Jesus and God in on that too. We don't want to leave them out in that regard at all. But talk a bit and just introduce yourself to our audience today.
All right. My name is Kendall Wildey, and yeah, it does seem I've had a few experiences, a lot of experiences. God has been so good and blessed me in so many ways to be a part of all kinds of things, and not only to have the opportunities to do them, but in the realm of things that I enjoy as well. It's really the adage that it's not a job, but if you enjoy it, and you can just go about doing it. I think it's my 39th year in education itself. Most of those have been in administration. And along the way, I've been able to do so many. I got into education because I wanted to be a coach. I'm being transparent. I want to coach. So in order to coach, I got to get a teacher's license. But along the way, as I became more of an administrator and superintendent and so forth, obviously the academics and that part of it have become more important over time. But I did want to be a basketball coach early on, and I've had the opportunity to coach basketball for many years. Have a love for fast pitch softball. I've been able to coach that. Had some stints in coaching baseball and volleyball and golf and some other sports as well. But most of it's been basketball and fast pitch softball. And as I said, a lot of the years, most of them have been in administration, working my way, I guess, the way up through the assistant principal to assistant superintendent, that type of thing. So it's just been an awesome ride. And then along the way, after 27 years in public education, a good friend of mine, Ron Bridgewater, gave me a call and said, "Hey, you wouldn't entertain coming and being our administrator at our Christian school, would you?" We had a lot of talks and a lot of meetings, and that worked out. And wow, that was God just, he opened some doors that have just been tremendous for Sandy and myself and all of our family, because it not opened the door to be the superintendent at Columbus Christian School, which this will be my 12th year, but it also opened the door for me to be ordained. I'd been ordained just before I came here, but as a minister, and it's given me the opportunity to serve the last 9 years as an associate minister at East Columbus Christian Church here in Columbus as well. And so that combination of during the day being able to be at the Christian school and being able to work at the Christian church has just been so phenomenal. I tell everybody I have to have the best job of anybody around to be able to do what I do on a daily basis and be surrounded by so many great people.
What a diverse background. And going back to your days in school, I assume you were an athlete as well. Talk about a little bit about sports you played, and is that what generated your interest in coaching and education?
Yeah. So I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I played football, basketball, and baseball. I'm not big. So football, I was that wide receiver guy that it was okay in high school, but it definitely wasn't going to go anywhere. And my favorite sport is basketball. So I had a love of basketball and had a good high school career there. But I was better in baseball, and it just came more natural, I think. But I was able to get a dual scholarship for baseball and basketball out of high school. I went to Glen Oaks Community College in Michigan and played both basketball and baseball. But didn't take long in college to find out that I wasn't that athlete that was going to go very far in basketball, and was able to have a little success in baseball. And was my second year able to be an All-American at the junior college level, which allowed me to get a scholarship to West Virginia University to play baseball just for a year. And what happened was Sandy and I, we started dating when we were freshmen in high school. And we dated all through high school and then went to junior college. We're at the same junior college. And she went to Georgetown College. She was going to be a music teacher, a choral director. And then I got my scholarship at West Virginia. And that was 7 hours away from each other. And the love bug took over after a year. And I transferred from West Virginia to Georgetown College. That's a great conversation with your parents, by the way, when you go home and say, hey, I'm going to give up my Division I scholarship to go to college to be with Sandy. But they handled it. They took it, and it was a great move. So I actually finished up at Georgetown College my senior year. And then they asked me to stay on as an assistant coach the following year. So I got to coach a year of baseball there at the college level as well. And then I went back home to Jennings County, North Vernon, Indiana, Jennings County High School, to be the junior varsity boys basketball coach for a couple of years. And then got my first varsity coaching job in Waldron, Indiana, the Waldron Mohawks. Was there for 3 years, and then took a job at Rushville, and then my hometown and home school, Jennings County, opened up, and I went back there and spent a lot of years at Jennings County before the move here to Columbus Christian.
Well, you were active, and I would say the time and the decision to invest more time with Sandy paid off for you in the long run, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that probably was, of all the decisions that I've made, thank goodness God was in the middle of that one, because if I would have chose baseball, that would have been a very short career. We've been married 39 years. So the 39 years of marriage and 8 years of dating before that have been great. We have 5 kids and 11 grandkids. It's been quite the life.
And what a fantastic couple the two of you are, and what a great family you have. And you and Sandy model so much life in the right way from a parenting and grandparenting piece. So proud of you there, my friend. But Kendall, talk a little bit about during your formative years and those younger days, you were making those decisions to go to college, to give up the scholarship. At what point did Kendall Wildey recognize that I want to lead, I want to face challenges and help others grow? When did that come to you? And tell us when you first recognized that about yourself.
I think I'll fall back on the athletics on that a little bit, because I think participating in sports and the athletics kind of molded me, although not knowing what was going on. I was just enjoying playing and being a team player and so forth. But looking back, so many qualities were ingrained through that process of just the sacrifice and the determination and being loyal to a team, and learning how to win and to lose in the right way and how to handle that. And just all of those things, I think, made me into the person that I've been over the years. I always said, even in the younger years, that I learned more on the court or the diamond or the field than I ever did in any classroom. And that's not putting any, I've had great teachers, and the academics has been important along the way, but that hands-on of just real life experiences through sports, I think, just really helps people to develop in so many ways. And especially if you're going to end up being in a leadership position at some point in time, because you've had to face so many issues, and you've had to face adversity, and you've had to fight through injuries, and you've had to do so many things that just help you when things come up on a day-to-day situation in the office, whatever that might be. So I think that kind of molded me into it. Like I said, coming through out of college and just getting ready for what I wanted to do, never dreamed I would be where I'm at now and doing what I'm doing. I really just thought I'd coach basketball for 40 years and retire and whatever. But it's an interesting story. And this is not a downer. So for you people listening and watching, don't take this in a bad way. But right out of college, when Sandy and I got married, I had an uncle who was the superintendent of schools at Jennings County. back in at that time. And Uncle Carl, and I always looked up to Uncle Carl. I just thought it was neat the way that he had grown up in North Vernon, and he'd gone away and got his degree at Ball State and teacher's license, administrative license, superintendent's license. And he came back to our small town in North Vernon and was a coach and a teacher. And then he became an assistant principal. And then he went to the superintendent's office and was assistant superintendent. And then at the time that we got married, he was a superintendent, and he was only 42 years old and done all of that in those years. And I always looked up to that. And he was one, when I would come home from college or whatever, he would say, "Hey, Kendall, here's a $20 bill," which was a lot of money back then. And say something like, "Here's $20, take Sandy out for pizza," or whatever. Now, hopefully Sandy's not watching, because I didn't always take her out for pizza. I usually just took the $20. But the story is, at our wedding reception, Uncle Carl had a heart attack and died at our wedding reception.
Oh my.
And, oh yeah. And you can imagine at that point in time, I can remember going to the hospital because they didn't declare him dead at the reception. I took him to the hospital, and early morning hours, I can remember sitting out on the curb at the Jennings County Hospital and just sitting there, just questioning God. Why God? Why tonight? Why Uncle Carl? Why Sandy and I's wedding? Just all the whys. And it was like so real that it's almost like God sent an angel to smack me upside the face. And the message was Kendall, when you stop asking why and start asking what, you'll get your answer. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with this situation? And I never, at that point in my life, dreamed that I would be a coach, teacher, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, and just follow that same pathway. And so when I look back at that situation, excuse me, my phone just went off. That situation, it was like Uncle Carl had ran his race. Uncle Carl had finished his course. And in that race, he was passing the baton to me. And it was time for me to run the next leg and take the baton and to begin that journey of my own. So like I say, it's not, the story is sad, but it's not a sad story because it really, I think, helped to develop and frame my career.
Thank you for sharing that in that aspect. I never heard that story from you before. It's very powerful with that piece. And it also just shows none of us really know when that moment in our life where we either get out of the starting block or we step away from it might occur. But thank you for sharing for us and the listeners. And just building on that a little bit, not so much the story with your uncle, but starting as an educator. 39 years is a long time for anyone in this environment, especially when we hear more and more about the shortening of career spans. Superintendents average in that 3-year window. Many classroom teachers are leaving their roles as educators much earlier than they might have ever thought. Yeah. Why have you been successful in that regard? And I know your wife put in a number of years and just recently retired in the past couple of years as well. What's been the key to your success in that way, Kendall?
I think the key for us has been that we have just always wanted to serve. And our prayer has always been, although we enjoy the occupation and we enjoy the young people and what we get out of it to help keep us a little bit younger maybe, but it's more than what we get out of it. It's an opportunity to be in a position where hopefully you can just instill some kind of a seed in young people's lives that will grow and develop over the course of time. So I think probably I would attribute it more to just it being a passion, and that passion being associated with the ministry aspect. And that so I think Sandy and I both have seen or felt like our careers have been more about a mission and ministry than it has been about an occupation. Because I think if it stays an occupation over time and over the years, if it's just a job, if it's just what you do in an occupation, you're going to get tired of it. You're going to get burned out. You're going to get to that position where you just want to get your years in and ride out the storm and take your retirement and move on. For us, there's just been so many rewards of being able to work with young people and to just watch them grow into who they are going to become. We don't know it at the time. We don't know if they're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a housewife or whatever it is, but to watch all that develop over the years. But I think the real thing is it's just been a passion and a ministry to us and not an occupation.
Thank you. And I could tell our listeners through the discussions, Kendall is probably the most consistent and constant individual when it comes to that passion. And Kendall, I'm going to jump in and just want to expand. You not only have been a coach and an administrator and a teacher now and a superintendent of private school, but you've been involved as a leader, as a team member with a great deal of success. Your teams that you coached, even in the single class system in the state of Indiana before it went to the class system in 1998, great success. You fought at high levels. Your softball team has been very successful in the tournament. Your school now, Columbus Christian, is seeing enormous growth and spreading with interest in surrounding communities. And I know you've told me many times, and hey, I'm one that can stand here and say, the success I've had in life is because of all the people God's put in my life. But share a little bit about that impact and the difference he's made for you and how you view that success now over the past 20 years, 30 years as a leader.
Yeah, that's been an interesting ride because while early on, I got to say that I was one of those coaches that I just wanted to win. But I would do anything within the boundaries of the rules and so forth to win, however many hours that took, whatever kind of workload that would take on. I just wanted to do whatever we could to win. And I really believed as a young guy, as a young coach, that one day I would have a team that won a state championship. I really believed that. And that was always the goal, and to work toward that. To this day, I've never been able to accomplish that. But along the way, have had some really great players that have led us to some Final Fours and some things like that. But in those early years, sadly said, basketball was an idol in my life. Looking back on it, I worshiped it. It consumed my thoughts. It consumed what I did. There were years where Sandy was, like in the winter during the basketball season, she probably lived the life of a widow more than she did as a spouse, and almost a single mom raising the kids, while I would do anything to watch film, go scout a game, be with coaches doing practice plans. It was just constant. And I got out of coaching boys basketball around the year 2000 when I went into the superintendent's office. That's when I had to make a decision on some of that. And then I was out of coaching boys basketball. I continued to coach fast pitch softball, and that was great. Had a lot of great kids, great girls. I think 7 or 8 Indiana All-Stars. You know, those are kids that make you good, and that make you a good team and help build a resume as a coach, because I can't throw a fast pitch softball for anything in the world, so I couldn't have done it. But got out of the boys basketball for about 17 years and still loved the game. But long story short, a few years ago, South Decatur, single A at the time, called, and their coach had just left right at the beginning of the year. And the AD and principal said, "Kendall, would you come help us out? We just lost our coach and we just need some help. Would you help us for a year?" And I'm like, yeah, again, I'll talk to you. I don't know that my elders board, and I don't know that my school board at Columbus Christian will be on board, but I'll run it by them. All of them say, "Hey, yeah, that's great. What a great outreach. Go help them out," or whatever. So that 1 year became 5 years, and just had a great run. And the only reason I bring that up is when I went back into that position at South Decatur High School, I was determined to do it differently. I was determined to make it all about the kids and not about me and on the wins and losses and having to win a state at any cost and that type of thing, and just do anything I could to try to help the kids and be there for them. And there at Little South Decatur, we had some success. Again, great players, but the COVID year, we were 24-2 at the time and just won the sectional and headed to the regional when, all that stuff got shut down. And we just had a good run of a few years there. We're able to lead the state in scoring, and we were known for our up-tempo, fast-paced offense and all of that. Just had a great time through those years of implementing that kind of a system and watching the kids play it because they played hard and they enjoyed doing it. But I think the key was just the different approach. It no longer was an idol that I was worshiping. It really was a tool to build relationships with kids and just try to help them in whatever way we could. So here I go back into a secular school, public school system. And I'm coming from this Columbus Christian background now where I get to share Jesus every day and we pray about everything and all of that. And I didn't jump out of bounds with what we could do or anything, but it was interesting how God worked, because not only did he bring up the team's success, but along the way, one year, the point guard came in and on a early Saturday morning, and just wanted to talk about being saved and getting baptized and things like that. Then here back at my church, where I was the associate minister, we were able to do that. We had he and his family in and had a baptism, and then a year or so later, we were able to baptize a couple more players and 7 members of their families all on one Sunday and stuff. And that's not Kendall Wildey doing anything. That's the Holy Spirit and God working in people's lives and through relationships and so forth. It was just so neat to watch the difference of, one, who I was and what my goals were as a young coach to, after a few years, you know what, if I never win a state championship, that's okay. Because I look back, I mentioned this in a Bible study I was leading with some of our people just a couple weeks ago, because I think I'm up just over about 50 of former softball, basketball players, students, and so forth that I've been able to officiate their weddings.
Oh, wow.
And oh yeah, and so like I told that Bible study group, I wouldn't trade the opportunity to do those officiate 50 weddings for one state championship for anything in the world. What I thought was my wisdom early on, God has changed all of that over the course of years. And it's been neat to be a part of all of it. And it's been a neat ride that he's allowed me to experience.
My brother, I appreciate you so much. And you have been a part of God's path and mission, and just sharing your story, the maturation that you've experienced, that many in life experience with that relationship with God. And I appreciate your time, and we're going to wrap up this episode. And so much, Kendall, your words are just fantastic, and want to dive more into your leadership experiences and some advice you have for our listeners in the next episode. So thank you again for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. God bless.
God bless you, my friend. And you're watching Leadership Synergized, listening to Leadership Synergized, where again, life doesn't have to be lived in a hurry to be successful and multiplying value in others. God bless, and thank you for joining us. Kendall and I appreciate you so much.